All right. Got Wale with me. What's good, Wale?
What's good, man? How you doing?
It's good, man. Man, oh man, we see the market gonna drop today, man. Wednesday, June 17th, after that surprise hawkish from the Fed Reserve. Investors we just saw completely saw sell off toward the end of the before the market closed. The surprising thing also, I see VIX kind of spiked like almost 11 to 12% today. I think we closed at 1837 or something like that. But overall, man, I think the broader sell-off kind of like focus on the tech stocks. If you guys look at overall, like a lot of the tech stock kind of got us sold off. Now, what is because the interest rate, what is because honestly, we've been talking about this for the past 2 weeks. I mean, 3 weeks that the market, when you look at broader like tech sector, those stocks have ran off like crazy. You know what I mean? So there's gonna be some profit taking. And I think a lot of that is happening. And also we have the potential for interest rate hike. We'll talk a little bit about also that's happening also. So yep, you have some crazy stuff happening. But overall, man, S&P 500 was down up 1.21% today. NASDAQ was down 1.34%. The Dow Jones 0.98%, the Russell 2000 0.72%. So none of the index got spared today. Everybody got smacked. So I mean, I think we're in a time right now, and I said this when we came into June. I was like, this is the last month of the second quarter. There's gonna be some profit taking. You guys gotta watch out for that. And I also said that, while I was talking a little bit about if we heard any rumor about rate hikes, the market is gonna sell off. So I think that's what we're seeing right now. Now we'll see tomorrow when the market opens how we're gonna look like. But overall, man, like I think this sell off, in my opinion, is not done yet. Wale, man, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, today's Fed meeting definitely ruffled some feathers. And if you look at how the market kind of traded even before the Fed meeting, you can see it was super choppy. There
Yep.
was there was no clear direction in the early parts of the market. The only one I traded IWM in the first like 15, 20 minutes of trading. That was the only one that really provided a nice directional move at open. But SPY, QQQ, very, very choppy. So we got our new Fed chair with his first um, press conference today, and I was kind of surprised at the number of Fed chairs or the number of Fed committee members that voted in um, favor or in favor of potential rate hikes before the end of this year. So everyone knew that the Fed was going to hold rates. That was a 12-0 unanimous vote. Like no
Yep.
surprise there, right?
Yep.
Um, Kevin Warsh took the helm today and he talked about how he was going to make some changes. One of those changes is they're not going to be giving any more forward guidance on what they're expecting. They're going to be looking at the data at each meeting and making decisions based on that information. Now, the biggest surprise that we saw today, at least this is for me, is out of the 19 available dot plots that usually get put on the projections of economic, summaries, right? Warsh did not put a dot on there. He
Mm.
remained abstinent. 18 people put dots on there, and nine of those dots are in favor of potential rate hikes this year. Five members said they're expecting two rate hikes this year. One member said they're expecting one rate hike, I mean, three rate hikes this year. And then the rest are expecting at least one. So when that news came out, you can see that the market got really, really weak. It tried to fight back and claw its way back, but
No.
eventually, before the end of close, it had sold off.
Yep.
We saw interest rates move a little bit higher also after that. And the biggest thing that I'll take away is that Warsh seems very hyper focused on, he said, we will reach price stability. He
Mm.
says we will. So he's making sure that that is a priority. So the Fed has already sort of, I guess, how should I say, they have given you a description of what they're going to be focusing on.
Right.
Employment is going to be taking a backseat. Everything is going to be hyper focused on inflation. And based on where we're at, the question is policy restrictive enough to
Mm,
bring inflation down? And the answer, at least so far, has been no, because we've seen inflation creep up.
yep.
And as we saw in the past, you cannot, the Fed funds rate cannot bring down inflation until it gets higher than the inflation rate. And this is
Mm-hmm.
if you look at CPI. You can look at a graph. If the Fed funds rate is below CPI, what was our last CPI read? 4 point what?
4.2, I think, right?
No, 4.2. I think
Mm-hmm.
4.2 or 4.3. Our Fed's funds rate is at 3.50 and 3.75.
7.5, yep.
So we're talking about roughly another 75 to 100 basis points from here, possibly.
Sheesh. Sheesh.
So again, look at the data. You cannot see inflation come down until the Fed funds rate is higher than the CPI rate. It hasn't.
Mhm.
We have not seen that. So we just got to wait and see how this plays out, man. But I know, some people may not like what they heard because we were talking about rate cuts earlier this year
And now we like
and
we're going the complete other way.
going the complete opposite direction. So I do
Hmm.
not see any rate cuts this year at all. And we'll just have to wait and see what happens with the markets and to get inflation down. So
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing you also see the bond market also. I mean, the treasury yield, surge in response to the higher for longer time. Like, there's going to be like, it's potentially a hike. You can see the 2 year yield kind of rose about to 4.16%, and the 10 years yield advanced to 4.46%. So we're seeing some whips out there too. Like something is happening all there over there also, which makes sense.
yeah. So and higher bond prices doesn't always translate to higher stock prices. So that is something that you have to keep in mind. Now, I will say that stocks have moved higher for the most part, since we've seen somewhat elevated rates. Like it
Yep.
hasn't really been a big deterrent, but some people are saying that the Fed should have hiked rates today. They should have hiked
Mm.
rates in the last meeting, and they have not. Um, and
Well,
I
how could they? Jerome was getting banged in the head by
yeah,
the
that's true.
administrator to lower the rate. Like, you know what I mean?
That's
Like,
that's true. That's
his
true.
best bet was to keep it steady, to keep it the way it is, rather than raise it. You know what I mean? Because if
Yeah,
he would have rose it, he would get a lot more flack from the administration. If he would have dropped it, I mean, if you would have dropped it, that's gonna be another problem, right? Because now you're gonna, you probably gonna create a whole other issues that you're not ready for. You know what I mean? So, I mean, the man had no room to play.
yeah, yeah. And I think there was a lot of uncertainty around the war. How
Mm-hmm.
long was it gonna last, and all this stuff. I guess
Yep.
we've got some clarity on that now, but
Mm-hmm.
nothing is really official based on what I've seen.
Yep. Yep.
So just a lot of wild cards out there, man. Just a lot of wild cards. And when there's a lot of wild cards and when there's a lot of uncertainty,
The market don't
markets
like that.
market don't like it. So
Market don't like that. I mean, the other thing also that let's talk about the war, man, because I think that's a cool pivot to the war. So it's like I think we talked about this last week. The way the stock market is going right now, there is no um indicator that's gonna reverse us to bullish, right? Like that's for now. Like we see all the indicators that's gonna show us that the market needs to sell off, and it's been selling off ever since. One of the bright spot that we talked about is the potential deal with Iran. If that happened, that might give us a little bit of a bullish push to the upside. Now, I don't know how long that's going to sustain that, right? But I think we talked about this last week. We were hoping it would happen this past weekend. Didn't happen, but it looks like as of let me see, as of 2 hours ago, it said the U.S. and Iran have electronically signed the memorandum of understanding to end the conflict, with the agreement now officially in effect. So it looks like we have some type of agreement. Because if you guys remember in the beginning of the war, I mean, Trump and his team was saying stuff, but Iran was like, we haven't heard from anybody. Like, we don't know what he's talking about. You know what I mean? At least now both sides are acknowledging that there's some conversation going. And I think that's a silver lining in this thing, right? And plus, this war went too long, man. Like, was when he first started, people were saying like, oh, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks max. I mean, we're going on like 3 months now. It's like it was still kind of in this space, right? So again, let's talk a little bit about that, man, because I think that's potentially going to have a small bullish lift to the market. But in my opinion, we're still seeing some pressure to push the market even lower a little bit.
Yeah, so over the weekend, we pretty much got good news saying that the war was pretty much over. Like that's what the news that we got. That's why we saw that big gap up on Monday. And markets responded very, very well to that information on Monday. Then we start hearing some back and forth about what was included in the deal, what wasn't included in
Yep.
the deal, whether or not it included the tension that's happening outside of Iran. Like there was a lot of stuff, whether Iran was going to get $300 billion. There was so much like convoluted information. Then um, Trump was like, if they don't agree, I don't mind going back and bombing them again. So I was like, I don't know what was happening. I had no idea what was happening.
Man.
Now, the oil markets took it as the war was going to end because now oil is under 80 a barrel. And oil has been taking a pretty, let me pull it up on my computer real quick. Oil has been taking a pretty decent beating. And I'm looking at light sweet crude oil futures right now, and they're trading at $75.
Mm.
So, and we were just trading well above 90 just last week. So the oil markets feel that this war is over. And hopefully it is. Oil comes down, and now the Fed can start to make decisions with checking the box on what's going to happen with energy. Now, we don't know when traffic at the Strait of Hormuz will return back to normal pre-war flows. We don't know how long that will take. But from what we're hearing, it sounds like they're working towards getting that done. And it sounds like there are more ships that are moving currently
Moving toward,
through
yep.
the strait.
Yep.
That's all good news for the Fed as they start to make their decision on what needs to be done. But I still don't get the sense that something has been finalized. Now, I will
Mm-hmm.
say this: I just looked at SPY futures and QQQ futures. They're up
Yes,
pretty.
they're up. They're up, yeah.
Yeah, they're up pretty decently in the after hour. So that information that you just gave about that electronically signed agreement must be very bullish for the markets as of now. So
Yeah.
we'll see if that holds. We'll see if it's just a fake out. We don't know. I really think that the Fed's projection for inflation going to the end of the year, that to me is a lot more important.
Yep. 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 Because right now, if a deal is signed, I mean that doesn't necessarily like even if the stock ran up, like it doesn't necessarily mean I don't know. It's like the war is only impacting a specific sector of the market. It doesn't impact the overall market, right? So,
Mhm,
but we have seen the stock market ran even with this news of the war happening. So it's like
mhm.
the market is ignoring all of this. So I think, in my opinion, I think you're right. Like short term, we might see a quick bullish move, but it's like if the Fed don't get their act together and figure out what the right direction, like I think we are gonna see some more sell off, honestly. But we shall see.
And I'm trying to see when's the next Fed meeting. The next Fed meeting is going to be July 28th through 29th. So we will wait and see what happens at that next meeting. But I'm in now. I will say this though. Consumer spending actually came in better than expected this morning,
Oh my God, I was shocked.
which was surprising. And I take that with a grain of salt because if we're not mistaken, credit card balances are increasing. So it means that people are probably charging what they need to spend. And then also the higher end consumer, if from what we're hearing, is responsible for most of the spending
Most of
anyway.
the spending. Yep.
And most of those folks have money in stocks, have bigger balances in cash,
Yep.
and are getting, interest on that cash. So I take that with a grain of salt when I see that. So I'm
Yep.
I'm not I'm not I'm not overly critical of it, but I'm also not buying into the hype that the economy is doing well.
No, I don't see how is that, you know what I mean? So we see people struggling all the time. So
Yeah,
and with all the layoffs and all the, you know, people getting let go from work, like how are we seeing like retail sales so high like this? It doesn't make any sense to me,
correct.
you
And I
know?
and I and I think we just got news about Robinhood laying off what 10% of their
Yeah.
workforce this week.
Yeah. Robinhood laid off about 10% of their workforce. And crazy thing, man, this happens every time. Whenever somebody announces they're gonna lay off people, the stock somehow just runs up. I don't understand why.
So you
I
so
guess
you got
investors are looking at it like, you know, you shedding some fat. So it's like
so
we're gonna
you
mess
got
with
you got to look at it like this. What's the biggest expense for most businesses? It's human capital.
employees. Yep.
So if you're getting rid of salaries, you're getting rid of benefits, you're getting rid of 401k contributions, or whatever it is that you offer those employees that comes out of the business, that money goes back into the business.
Yep.
So that's an expense that you don't have to worry about. So from a mathematical standpoint, you know, it makes sense.
Mhm.
But as far as leaving people out to hang and dry, you
Crazy,
know,
man.
it is what it is. But that's
Crazy.
it's just crazy that
Yep.
I saw Robinhood, man, Robinhood was up like what 8% today?
Yep. It's 8.78%. Yeah. It was up.
Yeah.
I mean, and the reason they gave for letting people go is like, and I think companies are getting like a little smarter now. They're like, they let go of these people because of their performance. They're like, we didn't let them go because we're doing bad. We let them go because they're doing bad. I was like, God damn, like,
Oh dang, I didn't know that. I thought it, I thought the excuse was going to be AI efficiency.
nope, nope. I think they're getting smarter now. I think those companies are like trying to flip the script now. It's like we're letting people go because of performance, not necessarily because the company's doing bad.
Mm,
I think that whoever came up with that thing, that's a great PR, you know, company saving, you know, title information to put out there. But at the end of the day, we know why they're getting rid of people. You know what I mean?
yeah,
We know
everybody
why.
everybody trying to cut expenses as much as possible.
Yep. 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 But that's for me, that's the crazy, man. That's the crazy thing. Well, let's move on to SpaceX, man. That was one of the biggest, well, the fifth biggest IPO in the world. You know what I mean? Like it is
Oh no,
crazy.
the biggest IPO in the world,
The biggest IPO.
the fifth biggest company in the
The
world
fifth
now.
biggest company. Yes, yes, I got that complete. But it's crazy, man. Like we seen as soon as it opened, that thing ran out. But we can see that like it dropped too, right? So a lot of those multi-million dollars, $1 billion that it kind of gained over the over the past couple of days, we kind of see it kind of cooled off a little bit. You know, we see some sell off a little bit today and part of yesterday too. So we see it kind of cooling off a little bit. Some of the greatest thing that I've seen with this IPO is, I mean, I don't know how true this is, but they're saying like even people who work in the cafeteria who have a percentage or shares from the stocks from this company are actually multimillionaires from that. If that's true, I mean, kudos to Elon, man. Like that's amazing for you to be able to create millionaires even from your workers that might have never dreamed to make that much money. I mean, they haven't sold yet, right? They have to wait till they sell before they can actually kicked out millions. But at the same time, it's like if that's true, man, that for me that's amazing. Like to be able to create multimillionaires just by IPOing and all this stuff. The other side of this is this hype? Is this still soon? Is this too soon for people to get in? And I think we talked a little bit about that too. So let's dive into those numbers, man, and figure out like where do we see this stock going from now? So
So the one thing I will say when it comes to SpaceX is at some point, we don't know when, for every stock, fundamentals will matter to investors at some point.
yep,
You can only run on hype for so long. And I'm not saying that this is pure hype, but there's an element of hype when you
yeah,
look at how it is priced according to what the fundamentals will show. So let me give you an example. So SpaceX at one point traded up to $229 a share. And
mm-hmm.
based on that share price, its market cap was almost higher than Microsoft,
Mm-hmm.
but it was higher than Amazon.
Yep,
Amazon has annual revenue of over 700 billion a year. 700 billion would it be? SpaceX annual revenue is only 18 million. Now, is Amazon and SpaceX, can you compare those two companies side by side? My answer to that would be no, because Amazon has AWS, which is a high margin business, and then they've got other parts of their business that aren't as high margin. So they're not in the same category. But I will say that if you start to put SpaceX against other high margin businesses that are in that $2 trillion like range, those companies actually have real earnings on a GAAP basis. SpaceX on a GAAP basis still loses a tremendous amount of money. So my question is this: can you really value a company today at $2.5 trillion that does not have a cent of earnings? Can you fundamentally do that? To me,
That's
the
crazy.
answer, to me, the answer is no. Not on $18 million of revenue.
Right.
Now, I know that you're looking at projections of what the company could do. My thing is that I feel that SpaceX still needs to grow into that $2.5 trillion valuation. Today, based on what the books show as of today, you cannot price SpaceX at $2.5 trillion. That's just my opinion. I don't think you can. Now, the market will dictate that now that it's a publicly traded company. The
Right.
market will dictate the price. The problem is we don't have full availability to the float. So we don't know what the market thinks. We know what a few investors think who bought into the IPO. Because remember, the money that was raised in the IPO, the $135 a share, the 555 million shares that were provided, that's all that's trading right now. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. And that only represents about 4 or 5% of the float, which is so small. So we don't know what the full market thinks about what SpaceX should be valued at. That's it. All we know is that the people who bought into the IPO and retail investors who want to get into the name, that is such a small percentage of the market and what's available to trade. Now, as shares start to unlock gradually over time, I think the biggest amount that's coming up is going to be after their first earnings report, when there'll be I think about 20% float that comes available. Then we'll get a glimpse of what people think, especially if the numbers aren't good, because they just bought Cursor for what, $60 billion.
Yep.
They just exercised their right to buy $60 billion with Cursor. I don't know if that's an all cash offer. I don't know if that includes cash or stock.
Stocks
I don't know if
probably. Yep.
I don't know if they're taking on debt. I didn't get the details on that. But they just absorbed a $60 billion company. They still don't have any earnings. So what
Yep.
does that do to the balance sheet? We'll just have to wait and see. So to me, it is too early to determine what the market thinks. I'll also say this: you have to understand, VCs, so venture capital and private equity guys, some of these guys have been sitting on this name for over 2 decades.
Yep.
And to this day, they have made
Zero
$0.
dollars. Yep.
They ain't made no money. Why? There's no liquidity event. They have not sold. The IPO money was new shares. It wasn't investors selling to other investors at 135. It's all new shares. So all that
Yeah.
money went to SpaceX and not to early investors.
Right.
You want to tell me that somebody like Peter Thiel, who invested $600 million into SpaceX and is now sitting on $50 million, or no, $50 billion
Billion.
in equity, isn't going to sell some shares? You want to tell me he's just going to be like diamond hands? Like, that will be a disservice to the investors.
Right. The least they'll be able to do is get their money, the initial investment out. That's the least they can do. You know what I mean? But that even that's gonna be big.
But that's only so I think his total investment, I think, was somewhere around 600 million.
Hmm.
So now he's sitting on 50 billion. Like, you don't think that he might like Sell 10 billion, possibly,
Maybe more. Shoot.
maybe 15 billion, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to understand, these people have been sitting on this money. Some of these guys, I mean, SpaceX was what, 2002 is when it
Yep.
started.
It was that long. Yeah.
So all that time, all Elon has been doing is raising money, looking for investors, raising money in the private market, raising money, raising money, raising money, raising money, raising money. These guys finally get their chance to sell and pocket that gain. And
Yep.
you want to tell me that they just gonna be like, diamond hands. I believe in the name. I believe in the name. I believe in the name. They are going to sell some of those shares. Now, the question is, do they sell enough to drive the price substantially down? We
Yep.
don't know. We don't know. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like you
Mm-hmm.
said, let's just say Peter Thiel just takes out his 600 million. That may not move the stock that much,
Not much.
you know. But we don't know what the other guys are going to do. You got Google that owns a percentage of Facebook. I mean, of SpaceX. You got other investors
Uh,
that earn percentages of SpaceX. Now, employees, I think they're gonna sell.
they better sell. Shoot.
I think I think the employees, the early
Bruh,
employees, I think they're gonna sell.
you better sell. I'll sell. Shoot.
Like, if you are like, you're talking about, you're a welder, or you're, working in a cafeteria, and now you're sitting on a couple $100,000 or a couple $1 million of gains, it probably makes some sense to take some profits at that point.
Yeah.
Now, again, it doesn't mean that you don't believe in the name. It means you're capitalizing on your opportunity today, and maybe you find a better entry in the future.
Down the road. Yep. Yep.
Because I don't think the market knows how to price SpaceX. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen anything like SpaceX.
Yep.
Like, you've got ASTS out there, you've got some other space names out there, and they're priced at high multiples, and they're still losing a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But SpaceX absorbed XAI, it absorbed Twitter, it's got Starlink. So you got all these moving parts, and nobody really knows how to price it.
How to price it.
And
Yep.
that takes time. I'll also give another example is Tesla was one of the first publicly traded EV companies that we'd ever
Yep.
seen. It
Yep.
took some time for the market to figure out how to price it. And when the market figured out how to price it, Tesla did not get priced like a car company. Because if you look at the other car companies, they
Yep.
don't trade at those high
Exactly.
multiples. Tesla trades at a completely different multiple than a car company, even though it's a car company. Rivian came out at $100 billion valuation because everybody was thinking we need to price Rivian like Tesla.
Tesla.
Rivian is now a $19 billion company.
Yep.
Market got it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It took time. It took time. But what happened? Rivian could not produce the numbers to justify the valuation.
Right.
So if SpaceX cannot produce the numbers to justify its current valuation, the stock will sell off. And like I said, only time will tell how that story ends.
Yep.
But with only a small percentage of the float available, you can't really, you can't really make a decision. Now, Morningstar says that SpaceX fair value for their shares is $63 a share.
Damn. And Morningstar is very reputable, guys. Like that's not a
So Morningstar is a very reputable,
mm-hmm.
independent investment analysis company that is used by thousands of financial advisors and institutions
Yep.
to, you know,
Yep.
rate stocks. Every time you go on Morningstar and you look up a mutual fund or a stock, they got that 5-star stuff. They're very well known for that. Now, I'm
Yep.
not saying Morningstar is right, but I'm not also saying not Morningstar is wrong. And if you're a Robinhood Gold investor, the Morningstar reports for stocks are available for free.
For free. Yep.
Like, if you go on morningstar.com and you want to like look up those reports, some are free, some aren't. A lot of them you have to pay for. But if you're a Robinhood Gold investor, that's one of the features that you can access is the Morningstar reports.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I like about Morningstar is they'll give you a bear case and they'll give you a bull case.
Bull case. Yep. And it's
And
up
they
to you
do,
to make a decision.
correct. They do a lot of analysis. And to me, if you're a SpaceX investor, I would read that report to just get an independent, objective view of what the business could be worth based on today's fundamentals. That's just how I look at it, you know, because what people are saying is like if people who aren't buying into SpaceX, people are like, oh, you're a hater. You're a hater. Like, I'm not a hater. You might like the business. Maybe I just don't like the price.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everybody has a reason why they're not doing it. You know what I mean? It's like just because I'm not buying at like $200 doesn't mean I don't like the business, right? You know, so it's
Correct.
like everybody has a story on what and when and how they want to enter that. You know, so same thing
Correct.
again. Like the option just went out what a couple of days ago, yesterday, whatever. Like those
I
those
think it was
numbers were crazy. Like
they said 1.6 million dollar contracts traded on day one, and that broke the record for Facebook or
damn,
Meta, which I think they said that was about 364,000 their first day. So it blew it out of the water.
it blew it at the water. Yeah.
It blew it out of the water. But like I said, sometimes you have to understand that some companies need to grow into their valuation. Like right out the
Yep.
gate, sometimes it doesn't really make sense.
Yep.
Remember Cerebras, the chip company that
Mm-hmm.
just went? So Cerebras, first day of trading, that bad boy got up to $385 a share.
Yep.
First couple of days of trading. Cerebras IPO'd at 185. Cerebras is now sitting at 213.
And
It hit
dropping.
a it hit a low of 196. So what does that tell you? Insiders are selling
Insiders are saying they're
as
taking money.
those shares become available for them to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Like imagine if you rushed on day one or day two and you picked up Cerebras at like 278 or 280 or 300. You're underwater. Now I'm not saying that I knew that was going to happen. No. But look at the full picture.
Right.
Is it a good business? Yes, it is. How is it being priced? How does it look in comparison to other companies in their sector? And the
Mm-hmm.
one red flag that I saw with Cerebras is for a chip company, their margins were not that great.
Mm.
That was a red flag for me. When I looked at their margins compared to other similar chip companies, they weren't that great. So I told myself, I was like, Cerebras is not worth what it's trading at today, in my humble opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, it's been coming down. I don't know how much longer it's going to come down, but they do have earnings next week on the 23rd, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. We'll see how that looks like.
Yeah.
That's gonna be
So
interesting.
the SpaceX story is very, very interesting, but again, you have to like take off your if you love Elon, if you love the space, if you love what they're planning to do in the future, those are all great things to get behind. Don't get me wrong. But the question you should be asking yourself as an investor is, am I willing to pay today's price? Because basically you're not paying for any earnings. There's no earnings
Right.
in this
There's no
company.
earnings. Yeah.
You're,
Yeah.
you're just paying for revenue. And you're basically paying $100 or $150 for $1 in revenue
Pretty much.
today.
Pretty much.
That's expensive. But if you believe in the name and you think that's cheap or fair value, hey, have at it.
Yeah.
But if
I
you
get
go
and
ahead,
also the good thing I was gonna say is like if you do buy it at that high price, like I guess what I'm trying to say also is like don't feel bad. Like if you really believe in the name, then just keep averaging down. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah, you can
I
do that.
hope I hope you didn't put all your money in there when you went to $200. You know, the hope is like, this is gonna be one of those long term, right? And that's the biggest thing also when it comes to stocks. I think like if you're gonna buy stock, think about it in 5 year increments. Like in my mind, that's what gives me like, okay, it's gonna take another five years if I can double my money. So I don't have to worry about it today. You know what I mean? But if you think you're gonna double it by tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, you might be a little jittery, especially when buying stocks.
Hmm.
Give it 5 to 10 years. I think SpaceX is going to be one of those once in a lifetime type of companies, but let it tell you, let it earn your money. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like, let SpaceX earn your money. Like, don't just give it to them. Let them actually earn your money. Look at the numbers. Look at maybe a couple more earnings before you start getting in. To see exactly what the trends are. So
Yeah,
it's gonna take time. It's gonna take time
yeah.
for sure.
Because like I said, the market has never seen anything like SpaceX. There's never been a $200 trillion company that doesn't make money.
Yeah.
Never happened. Every company that's got to that $1 trillion mark, they have real earnings.
Mm-hmm.
SpaceX has no real earnings. At least not yet.
That's it.
So we don't know how this story ends. To me, it's way too early. But the key is what happens with the insiders as those shares start to unlock. And the full float will unlock on December 9th, 2026. Elon
Mm.
cannot sell anything until June 2027.
Damn.
So Elon got to hold on. And I don't think Elon need the money. So I don't think he's going to sell.
No, he's good.
Yeah. I
He's
don't think
okay.
Elon. They said at a $1 trillion, they said Elon could spend $1 million a day, and it would take him 29,000 years to spend all that money.
He's okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he's all right.
That's a lot of bread.
That's a lot of
That's a lot of bread. Like
that's wild. That is wild.
a trillion. Dang. So
Give me
we'll
give me
we'll.
give me give me 25% of that. I'm good.
I don't even need 25% of that. Give me 0.5% of that.
Half a percent. That is wild, man.
Yeah,
That is wild.
but like I said, now it's the market to determine. The market will determine what SpaceX is worth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it'll be curious to see how they trade all the way up to like when the full float actually becomes a bill. Like it'll be curious. I'll be curious to see how we're gonna trade from here. Are we gonna get stuck on the trend and you know basically trying to figure out where we go from here? And just like we'll see, man. We
yeah.
shall see.
I will say this: if there's a big earnings miss in that first earnings report, I could see a pretty significant sell-off.
Yeah.
The cursor buy, like I don't know how that's gonna affect their books, but um, another thing that can happen too is like let's just say early investors were like, yeah, don't buy cursor, don't buy cursor. They buy cursor, they're gonna be like, all right, well, we out.
Mm,
That could be one
yeah,
thing. Like,
yeah,
you know,
that could backfire too. Yeah.
yeah, that can backfire. Like you spent $60 billion on a company that we didn't want y'all to buy,
Mm,
and they went ahead and made that move. Early investors might be like, I don't like
yeah,
this. I don't like this valuation no more. Call me in 6 months.
that's crazy.
So, but
But
to
yeah,
me,
man.
the
Yeah,
Elon multiple is what gives SpaceX its valuation. It's not the
absolutely,
it's not the fundamentals. Because
absolutely.
fundamentally, this company is not worth that on paper. But it's
Yep.
if you give Elon his own multiple, who knows what that looks like?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and you're right, man. People are betting. People are betting on Elon. They saw how he was able to kind of take all this, except for maybe Twitter. Twitter still losing money until they got included into what you call. But overall, like people have seen the companies that he built, and they pretty much trust him right now, right?
Hmm.
I guarantee you, if Elon leaves tomorrow, that company will go back to $10. Like that's
Oh,
it,
if Elon left any of those companies, they would not be worth. I
yep,
mean, you talking about a 50 or 60% haircut.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think a lot of people are betting on Elon. A lot of people are betting on that. They believe what he said. They believe he's going to do what he says he's going to do. So I think this is sheer belief in leadership. Which is one of the moat that you need to have within if you're going to buy a stock, you got to believe in the leadership. You got to believe in their vision, but also you got to believe in the numbers too.
Yeah,
So
yeah. The
for me,
numbers, the numbers will matter.
yeah, yeah. So we'll see. We'll see when the numbers are actually going to come into play here.
And I'll also say this too is that Elon, I don't know if he's the first, but he seems to be one of the pioneers to doing what SpaceX is supposed to do. How much time before other companies catch up and there's real competition? Because I remember years ago when Tesla first came out, and when he heard about BYD, he laughed and was like, "Have you seen their cars?"
Mm,
And he was just kind of like, he kind of just shrugged them off. It took some time, but who's the biggest EV maker in the world now? BYD.
BYD.
Tesla's sales have been steadily declining.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, does SpaceX ever really get competition? Now, the space they're in is probably pretty hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rockets and all that stuff like that. It's probably a pretty hard place to break and give them a competition. So there is some moat with SpaceX there. But do the Chinese eventually catch up at some point? I don't know.
Yeah.
Do the Russians eventually catch up at some point? I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we both concluded that if BYD could sell their cars in the United States, it'd be a wrap.
It'll be a wrap.
It'd
Tesla
be
will be
a
done.
wrap for Tesla.
Literally, Tesla will be done. So
So only time will tell how this story ends, man.
yep.
But
Yep.
I
Yep.
I think that private equity guys and those early investors, they are waiting for an opportunity to cash in because again, they ain't been paid yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They're gonna take their money and go on vacation somewhere. So they're ready.
yeah.
They're ready.
Or look at other opportunities.
Yeah. Let's move on to next week, man. We have jobless claim tomorrow, actually. I mean, the weekly jobless claim, nothing crazy there. But we don't have anything. I mean, we have leading indicators and then Philadelphia Fed Business Outlook Survey. Friday is Juneteenth. I think the stock market is closed, so no trading on that day. So don't be logging in trying to see if the stock market is moving or not. And then next week, we have US flash manufacturing PMI, new home sales, and then we also have the PCE price, core price and PCE index also coming in next week also. So that will be a good one to actually keep an eye on. And then Friday, we have the wholesale inventories. Not a whole lot of big news coming up going into next week. So I think it's going to be mostly quiet week for next week. The Federal Reserve they will be released their annual bank stress test results. That's going to be on Wednesday at 4 p.m. So that's going to be one actually interesting to kind of keep an eye on also. Um, Let me see what else. Yeah, I think the next week is going to be pretty quiet unless if something happened with this deal with Iran, anything like that. I don't see any big, economic data coming out next week. So yeah, well, hey, man, any last minute advice to the people as we close and move on to tomorrow and see exactly how this deal is going to be structured? I mean, like you said, I'm looking right now in the futures. It looks like we are seeing some reversals. Let me see where we are right now based on CES. What is ES now? I mean, we're up 0.82% after hours. I don't trust this move because we haven't even gone over today's high from this morning. So I don't trust this move. We might see some sell off a little bit unless if something happened that, it actually moved up a little bit higher. I think the same thing with NQ. Same thing with NQ. I don't trust this move. We haven't gotten higher than what we opened this morning. So I don't know, man. I think there's still some pressure in the market. Maybe if they announce that the deal is signed and everything is finalized, we might see a quick run up. But again, I'm not too confident that we are done where we are out of the woods yet.
Yeah, we may not be. And like I said, I am not until something becomes official, my mindset is anything can happen.
Yep.
Anything can happen. And if I'm not
Anything.
mistaken, I think what Trump said today at the G7 meeting was I'm the boss. And
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel that that was a shot at Benjamin.
Yep. Yep. He said he was. I was shocked at the way he talked about Israel during the G7. Like I was shocked. I was like, oh man, somebody pissed him off. I don't know who pissed him off with Israel. Somebody probably said something that he didn't like, and he's like, "Nah, I'm gonna put you guys on the main stage." He didn't tweet about it. He didn't. He went on in front of all the leaders and told them like, he's not happy with Israel. Basically, I mean, and for me, that's like I don't think I ever heard a president that said that before. I think all the presidents mostly kind of just fall in line. But for him to be like, I'm not happy with Israel and the way they conducted themselves, especially with Lebanon and all these different things that they were doing outside of the Iran. Like they were basically trying to instigate side things also on top of that. So I think they were trying to derail his deal. So he wasn't happy with that, of course. So again, man, I'm with you, man. Like unless if we see something concrete that's been signed and everybody agree that this thing is over and done with and we are retreating, anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can
So
happen. So take any news any good news with a grain of salt, man. So
Yeah.
that's my only thing, and I'm not gonna get too excited. I'm just gonna just move
Oh man,
along, just move
there you
along.
go. Well, with that being said, man, we probably won't be back here on Friday because of Juneteenth, but we want to wish you guys a happy holiday, and also please be safe out there on the weekend if you're going out. My birthday this weekend, so I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to turn up a little bit.
I'm not mad at that.
But with that being said, man, it's always a pleasure having you guys here. Please share the show with everybody else that need to be able to join us. And if anything else we can do for you all in terms of question, all that, please DM us. And we are here for you all. I hope you guys enjoy when we are here. And with that being said,